Huh? Are we
Hello,
live? We never really.
hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Lila and Elle show. We are here today to entertain you, number one, to teach you, number two, and number three, to inspire you, really, to be the best version of yourself, to bring brilliance into your life. And we're going to have really beautiful conversations. Elle, will you share a little bit about um, how did we just decide to do this? Like, how did this come about? Why are we even doing this?
So it started 3 years ago when you invited me to be your accountability partner. And I almost refused, but then we decided. So 3 years later, we've been talking every single day or every single weekday for 3 years. And that's pretty remarkable. So oftentimes we have these conversations that the two of us will say, wow, we should have recorded that, because it was just so impactful for each of us as growing entrepreneurs. And we would just say, wow, wish we had recorded this. It could be so helpful to people. And we've talked on and off of doing a real like TV show, right?
Yes. We want our own TV show. There's the
On our own
plug.
TV show. Yeah. We want the segments of a lifestyle show, like cooking, brain, body, all the things that we do on a daily basis to do our lives. We want to share it with you. We do. And so that's how this got started, right?
Yeah. So here we are. We're starting. So
We're
yes,
starting.
we want our own TV show. So we're just going to create it until we get it. We're going to refine it. We're going to share our dreams with the world, really, because we're creators, right? We all are creators. And so our topic today is creativity. I'm so excited to start off this new journey together. We're going to do a show once a week. Unless something's coming up, we might miss a week for some reason. We're traveling or doing something really cool with clients. But we're going to do a show once a week. And the purpose of the show is to bring your brilliance to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
what both of us have been doing for years and years, is bringing people's brilliance to life.
yeah, your full potential, right? The brilliance that you're really like gifted as a human when you come into this planet. Many of us squash that brilliance. Other people might squash that brilliance. Society might even feel like it's squashing that brilliance. And what I'm really grateful. So Elle and I both, have had businesses and we've grown our businesses and we've been, like she said, accountability partners. And what's really one of the things that I love about Elle is number one, she takes full accountability for her own brilliance and how that's expressed in the world. So Elle, I want to thank you for being willing to be responsible for your own brilliance and fostering your own brilliance and sharing your brilliance with the world and not allowing other things to hamper that. I know maybe it wasn't always that way, but you are the example in the world to live brilliantly. And what I've seen with you, and what's tying into our topic today, is so much creativity. In the last 3+ years, you have created so much. And so will you chat a little bit, like what I would love the audience to know is a little bit about your creative journey. And could you weave pressure free into that and how that's changed your creativity and what you know about, all of that? Would that be?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I was just coaching this morning a very creative team. My son's video production team has hired me for the whole year to coach their team. So this has been it's so cool to coach creative people because I get to hear them. So I can bring some of their brilliance into what I'm going to share with you. But honestly, I did not think I was a very creative person. I'm a violinist and a conductor, and I thought of myself as a recreative artist. So I look at the music and I have to interpret it. But I wasn't a composer. I wasn't creating my own music. You know what I mean? So I would say for most until like 45, 47, I didn't think of myself as a creative person. Like really
Yeah.
didn't. I would say things like, well, I'm not very visual. I don't really see. I would downplay my gifts. And I think a lot of us do that. And here are some reasons why. Here are some things to look at. If there's ever been a time in your life where someone has said, oh, you're not very good at that, or, oh, you can't sing, or, you know, something like that, and you just kind of picked it up and took it, you took that, then there's this little voice that's in your head that when you start to actually sing, the voice says, oh, but you're not a good singer. That was when you were in 3rd grade.
Can I give you an example in my own life?
Yeah.
I love this. So you're really speaking to this, like, we may be expressing ourselves creatively the way we express ourselves, and it's different for all of us, right? And somebody outside of us says something and it boom, shuts the lid.
Yes.
So it's interesting because I'm just feeling into like my own experience of what's coming up. And I was like, oh, I just realized why I used to say I wasn't a creative person. I used to say I'm not creative. And then I was like, well, I'm creative when I cook and in my fashion, but nothing else. Right. And now I'm like, oh my God, every day is like a creative, magical journey. But what I recognize is as a child, my creativity was expressed with precision. So in art class, for example, I wasn't the one doing the sloppy stuff or the painting a face. I wanted to draw like Argyle. Okay, that was my form of creativity. I would draw like take a ruler and if I could get a line just so, it was art to me. If I could color in the lines and never get anything out of the lines, that focus, that presence, that mindfulness of fully being like in the lines when I colored, or drawing something really complex but like over tracing paper, right? That was like my form of creative expression. Learning to dance just so. Not just dancing. Dancing was fine, but learning the dance that it was, my foot was just in the right spot, you know? That was my form of creativity. And I remember being dissed for it. Like, that's not creative. That's too perfect.
Right.
You know? And I was like, oh, I guess I'm not really creative. So I used to say, I'm really good at math and science.
Right. Right. You find your things and that starts to build an identity for you. And that's so just talking about, you know, crafting within the lines. I want to share a little story. It's the only time that I ever was furious with one of my kids' teachers. My son was ill. He was home. And so I'd bring the homework home to him. And you know, when you have intersecting circles and they form the little intersections and everything, well, the assignment was to color that. So my son took that form, the 3 circles and the intersection. This is a very artistic son. And he created this amazing thing within the form, right? And then I brought it in. She goes, oh, no, he's done it wrong. Each one of these is supposed to be the same color. Then each one of these is supposed to be the same color. You know, so it was all very uniform. And I said, well, I'm not bringing it back to him. Your instructions did not say that. All it said was to color this. So you can give him an F. I don't really care. But my son made an incredible piece of art here, and you're not going to destroy that. So
even teachers.
Yeah, they will say something, and it's so inadvertent, they don't mean harm, but it can last a lifetime for a child to have something like that happen. And so we all,
for you.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest shift for me was in 2010 when I started coaching and creating the pressure-free method, which stopped the release of stress hormones. And one of the things about stress hormones that a lot of people don't know is that it shuts down your hippocampus back here, thinking and remembering, lodging memory, and it shuts down your cortex, the outer part of your brain, which is all this functioning that's so important for every aspect of cognitive thinking and creative thinking. So for so much of my life, my ability to create was really quite shut down. And then you add in the voices, oh no, you're not very creative. Oh, you know, you're not a very good writer. All of that comes in. So 2010 really shifted for me. And I started to totally believe in my ability as a creator.
Say it again, sister.
Yeah.
I want to hear that one again.
And here's the thing I was talking about, I was coaching this morning. You need to go into full belief. Lila and I are here to help you move into full belief about your brilliance. What is between your ears is magnificent. It's magnificent, and we need to turn it on. And that's what she and I are here to do in this show with you. That's our main focus. We're going to give you so many tips and so many ideas involving the body, involving the mind, involving thoughts that are just going to help you unopen. So that was a shift for me. And then I had a real creative breakthrough with writing in 2016. My favorite author passed away. And I had taken my son and his friend way up north to see the hawk and eagle migration. And that's where this guy wrote a lot of his books.
Okay, listen, friends, wait. She's telling the story, but I want you to listen in, because can I pause you just for a moment?
Yeah.
I want to get perspective. I'm like let's pause the shot here, because this is good. Here's the deal. So what was happening for 47 years? She said, I'm not really creative. You're also surrounded by creative people.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So relative wise, you probably even thought you were even less creative, because they're so creative.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. My husband was a professional writer. So I don't write well. Like, I'd write things and have him edit them, because I didn't, even when we worked together in this as nonprofit executives, every grant I wrote, I gave it to him to fix. I never trusted my own writing at all. And then my boys are super creative. So no, I'm just not that.
They have a film company.
I'm a business person. Right?
I'm a business person. Oh, I love it. That was the story. I'm a business person, right?
I'm good at math and science, and I'm a recreative artist, but that's where it stops. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I take
I'm going to give perspective. That was like 40. So I know a lot of people out there have the story that I'm not creative, and yet they know something's off. They're like, what if I could be? What if I really am? Or they know they're creative and they can't bring it forward. It's hard to make it happen in the 3D world. So what I want to bring forward is the fact that you felt like that for this long. Then you figured out your body and your mind and how they're connected.
Yes. And started to just unlock that.
Boom. So she figured out how to get the body and the mind in alignment. So chemicals in the body weren't, stress hormones and whatnot aren't getting in the way.
Right.
And then her creativity started opening. And the reason I'm highlighting this, because I'm fascinated by this, because I've never had this kind of experience where you're about to share. So you've had this experience of not feeling creative, and then you had this learning how to take care of your mind and body so you don't have stress hormones in your body. And then so I'm driving with these two middle school kids in the back seat. We've been trying to see hawks and eagles. We're not very successful because it's too warm. It's not really going that well. And I'm on a road where there's no other cars. There had been snow on the trees. So everything was white. There was almost no distinction between sky, tree, and road, because the road was snow covered. So it's like going through a tunnel of white. And it was as if this novel, these characters descended into my head. And we got to the little motel. The guys are hooking up their little video thing. And I just grabbed my gold notebook, because I don't have a creative notebook. I have a business notebook, right? I opened it up and I wrote 10 pages of a novel, boom, instantly before we went out to dinner. And I couldn't wait. I told the boys about it at dinner. I'm like, guys, there's this story in my head. It's crazy. And I couldn't wait to get back to the hotel room and grab it again and just keep writing. And the thing is 600 pages right now. So I'm editing it. That was 2016, 2017 when I wrote the bulk of it. The characters still enter my head. Yeah. That's what I was about to say. This is the interesting part I always find interesting. It's like you've cleared your mind and your body from stress hormones. So there's not this fogginess over you. So you're able to, be an open channel. And it's like the story came into your head, but actually what happens also is the character.
They talk to me.
Yeah. This is Fascinating. So what I'm fascinated by is you've written 600 pages. You haven't had to work at it. I mean, you have to work because it's work. You got to sit down, you got to do the work, type it up. But it's like coming through you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even just a couple months ago, one of the characters came in and said, oh, this is how that went. You don't have it quite written yet. So I had to go.
You got like a character editor in your head. I mean, like she doesn't even, this is amazing to me.
It's a little crazy, but it's like really cool. And I have to think, like, I think all of us when we're really little are extremely creative in a lot of ways. And I think we get kind of pigeonholed or pushed into certain ways that stuffs us down a little bit. Because in a way I felt, yeah.
Go ahead, I want to hear you.
So in a way I felt like almost childlike again. That it was okay for me to play with all this. Do you know what I mean? And if you looked at my life at that time, you would probably say, she has no business taking time doing that. She should be working on her business, right? If you were looking over and making sure I'm okay, you know? But I couldn't help it. It like had to come out. And it was definitely an unleashing. And kind of like you, fashion was definitely a creative thing for me for a long time. Then I got married and something happened. That all disappeared.
Kids, marriage, business.
Not wanting to look as crazy as I used to, I guess. But and also you and I were both cheerleaders. The precise movement was like a real deal for me. And that came out of the fact that my mom said to me one day, you know, it was in 8th grade. I was all gangly and very uncoordinated. She goes, you don't have a coordinated bone in your body. I had like dropped something in the kitchen or something. And immediately I was like, I'm going to prove that I am coordinated.
Yeah.
So I tried out with all these girls. I'm like, I'm going to make the cheerleading team because that's the most coordinated person I know is a cheerleader, right? I didn't want to be a cheerleader. It was like I had to be a cheerleader.
You had to show your mom. You're like, I'm going to coordinate some things. I'm going to coordinate. You just want, I'm going to coordinate clothes. I'm going to coordinate dance movements. I'm going to coordinate cheers. I'm going to coordinate words with movements.
Sometimes when you get told a no, or, you know, you'll go two ways. It'll stuff you down or it will unlock something. So that's another thing to take a look at in your life is like look at the things that happened and did they hold you back or you said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show that I can do this. So there's,
yeah, this is fantastic. You know, because the truth is a lot of people have a lot of ideas that never come forward in their lifetime. And so we believe in you as an audience member. We believe in you. We believe in your dreams. We believe in your ideas. Like, I don't believe that anything comes forward like for you. You could have listened to these voices in your head.
these people.
You could have listened to these people, or I mean, you know, like you did, right? And you have 600 pages written, and you're bringing, you know, it's so exciting. Or you could have stuffed it down and said, no, I got to focus on the business, and they probably would have gone away at some point, or they would have screamed louder. Who knows? But the belief that you can create, the choice you make to do it, even when it doesn't make sense always, right? Logically, right? That is the gateway to happiness. It's when we're creating in the world that we're happier. When we're growing vegetables, when we're creating a business, when we're creating a novel, when we're creating relationships. What'd you say?
Crocheting or knitting.
Crocheting. I created a braid in I like to like do little things with my hair. Why? It's a creation process. It makes me feel good. Yeah. Do I really need to? No. But I like it. It feels good to create a braid. Oh, today's going to be a little thicker. Oh, today's going to be a little thinner and longer, a little thicker and shorter. Like maybe I'll do it in the 2 braids, right? Like I'll do one braid and it's parted in the middle, do it on the side, right? Like I have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I don't change my jewelry a lot. I got this new, you know, little piece from somebody here in town, and but I wear the same kind of earrings for a long time, and you know, but it's still a creation. Even that same thing over and over is a choice to create in that way. And what I love about the work we do is that there's a couple things. One, you know, helping people get rid of the stories, get rid of the old pain and trauma around like being creative. Because if you're not able to creatively express yourself, you're not going to be happy. So number one, you need to figure out how do you want to create, right? What is it that you really want to create? And then what's getting in the way, right? And I guarantee you almost like 99.999% of the people watching this right now, one of the things getting in the way is your stress hormones.
Yep.
Triggering you. So you have, you know, you're not able to think right. And then the other piece is just literally thinking too much and not being, not just doing it. Like Elle, she's like, I just sat down and wrote 10 pages. She didn't think about, should I write 10 pages? Should I get a creative notebook? Maybe I'll wait till I get back home.
Oh, right. I almost did that, by the way. Yeah, I almost like, oh, am I going to mess up my work journal? Because this is my work journal. You know, that would be messing it up. And I'm like, no, so I just did it. Here's another funny thing. So I came back from that trip and I'm sitting in the living room with my husband and I would go, honey, listen to this. And I just start reading. He thought I was reading a novel that I picked up in the bookstore up north. No, it was my novel. So this is a pro writer. I'd be even a little nervous even to share my stuff with him. But I was like, I just started reading and he was like, oh, that's pretty good book. You know, I'm like, it's not a book yet.
Yet. And I want everybody to look at her right now. Watch how she's reacting and like she's laughing and happy. That's exactly what you're like, talking about the thing that you love to create, and your body is just so expressive and free right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
That's what we want for everybody.
So you brought up some really good things about, you know, what blocks us from being able to take on a creative project or even to think of what we might do. So if you are having trouble even answering that question, like, I don't even know how to be creative, or I don't even know what kind of project I would like to do. Again, the number one reason are these nasty stress hormones. They just prevent you and keep you stuck. And so look in two places, and this is where Lila and I just come so together. Where in your body are you holding tension? Today, when I was working with a group on this, most of the people, it was either the jaw, so clenching, grinding teeth, or it was right in here, the shoulders.
Yep.
And Lila, I would love to show, like, I had them flapping their wings, but I would love for you to share, like, how can people get that tension released?
Okay, let's talk about this because this is huge. Because like you said, if you don't know what your creativity is, or you do know what your creativity is, but it's hard to express it, it's hard to get it out, make it happen. The body is holding tension, guaranteed, because your energy is not flowing right. You're not being creative, you know. So this is the other piece in terms of happiness. Yes, health. If your body's holding tension, you're not creative like you want to be. It's not good for your body, your organs, your blood flow, your muscles, your bones, your connective tissue. None of it. So that's why we're so passionate about this, the body and the life being so connected. And so what you can do is, number one, breath. Your breath needs to deepen into the body so your whole body can breathe. You have 4 diaphragms, one at your pelvic floor, one, you know, around your lungs here, one right around that jaw space that gets tight, right around the low ear here, and then the top of the head. Most people love to get their head rubbed because it's tight on the scalp. So there's 4 diaphragms. We need to be breathing from our whole body, not just from our, you know, nose and mouth. And most people breathe too shallow, just here in this front part of your chest. And over time, your lung capacity gets smaller and smaller and smaller. From an energetic level, lung capacity represents the ability to take in life. So if you're like building a business and you want to take in more life and take in more clients and take in more money and take in more everything, and you're not breathing deep, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to expand. And how do you do it? breathing, I love to teach 3 steps. You breathe your rib cage wide. So your rib cage goes from your armpits all the way down by your waist. So that whole area, like fish gills, needs to go wide. And you'll feel your shoulders. What you're doing is the more you can expand your ribs and build more capacity for breath and increase the amount of space within your rib cage, your shoulders will start to float. Your head will start to float on top of the floatiness of your rib cage like a hot air balloon. So you won't have as much tension. So you could try to work the shoulders, try to work the jaw. I know people go out and get massages. I do it myself. However, there is nothing better than releasing the tension from your spine and expanding your ribs and then just let everything float on top of it. It's the core. We have to go in. So the second, with breathing, first you go wide, secondly, back. So your back rib cage, especially low by your waist, down by your kidneys, they need more breath. Needs to expand back and wide. So you get almost, not a big hump back, but a little bit more of a turtle shell feeling, where your middle part of your body, or your rib cage, kind of like where your bra strap would be if you're a woman, right around that nipple line. That's the widest part of your rib cage. And so you want that to go wide, you want it to go back, just expand, circumferentially and circumference. So not just in the front chest.
That's one of the biggest things you've taught me, is because we do so much, now we're all on screens, right? We are 3-dimensional beings. We are curvy and round, and I can't even tell you what it's done for me. I haven't gone to a massage. I have no need of a massage ever since I met you, because I go into this whole cool thing and I love it.
Isn't that cool? And so the neat thing is, I will say, if people are having problems at first doing this because your breath is short, you're like, I can't get in there with my breath. You could do a couple things. You can open your mouth. Do it kind of slow, don't hyperventilate. Be careful. Don't do it when you're driving. You might, zone out. The other piece is you want to bring your awareness, your consciousness. So there's this, your soul, your light. There's this light inside of you that's beyond just the breath. You can direct the breath with your mind. There's a light. I like to think about it like a soft ball of white light inside of your body, inside of that heart space, the lungs, those diaphragms. So even around your jaw now, you can think about your jaw having a diaphragm. A diaphragm is kind of like a trampoline. It's springy and it can go wider and in and out, but you want it to be springy. So you can think about right around your jaw and your ears and the back of your neck. Let that go wide first. So just take a breath in and out and breathe out wide. Most people's jaw needs to go more wide. It's just clenched in, mine included. That's one of my tight spots. I always like to joke and say I'm a control freak, I'm working on it. I'm working on surrender over here. Okay, guys. But I've been one of the independent woman types, taking care of myself for a number of years. So have this kind of sense of control. I want to make sure it's all just, So, and the reason I want to share this is because it links back into creativity. So let's do the third step of the breathing, because it links good with creativity. It's that you need to let go of control sometimes. So the third step is lift the ribs like a hot air balloon up and away from your hips. You want to keep your hips down, rooted, your feet down, but as you keep your feet and hips down, at the same time, lift your ribs up. So all sides of your ribs, the back, the sides, and then you start to lift it up, the whole rib cage up. And this, what happens is you have a sense of like a loss of control sometimes. You ever feel that when you lift up and you're like, whoa? Yeah? That's what we want for you. That play your edge, lose control, let your jaw go, lift your heart up. And then what happens is you get this creative flow opening, like Elle has with these characters that come to her and say, yes, write it like this, don't like this is what happened. friends, when her novel comes out, find a private place to read it. So how does that feel? You know, just 3 steps, breathing, wide, back, and then up. And you know, another piece I've been sharing this week that I don't often share is sound. So as you're doing it, if it's kind of hard to get in there, like I said, bring your awareness there, but also sound. So if you're like, I can't get deep, breathe in. You know, just a sigh out, or whatever feels good. But your own resonance, that own vibration of your own voice will actually open up the body and allow more breath to get in or back. You know, it just opens your body up even more.
Yeah, plus when you make vibration with the sound, all of your cell walls, there's 2 layers of fats that make up a cell wall, constantly vibrating. When you create vibration, you get that all chattering. That's what heals you. Like you're healing yourself from the inside out.
Yes. And healing is needed to express creativity, because it's in the, if you, like you said, if somebody said something mean to you along the way, there's trauma there. Heal your trauma with your voice, maybe, right? Oh, I have another one, friends. I used to say I'm not a good singer. I don't have a good voice. The truth is, I did not know. Let me step back. How do I say this? I have a good voice and I have a bad voice. That's the truth. It depends on where I sing from in my body and how, if it sounds good or not.
Yeah.
If I'm singing from my head, whoo, if I'm singing from my sacral chakra, my womb space, the belly button, I love teaching classes or doing some, call and response chanting or something, because I never thought people would say you have a beautiful voice. Yeah, people would be like, you have a beautiful voice. And I'm like, oh, I used to, it just feels good. Right now I'm kind of like, I recognize the reasons why, but so, I teach embodiment work, and you and I both care so much about the body, and we understand the body as it relates to creativity and health and all of that. And so I'd love to ask you, there's a lot of people right now with everything going on in the world that probably have some creative ideas that either been with them for a while and they're ready to make it happen, but it's like hard, or something new's coming through them, like your characters, right? Novel. I will say I've had a new expression of creativity in my own life of saying, it's very clear to me people need embodiment work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, right? And so I'm just curious, from your standpoint, like right now, as we're in this shift, moving forward, people want to creatively express themselves in a new way, perhaps. What are some tips, like one tip or a handful of tips, some things that you can say, okay, here are the next steps to take. Of course, talking to us privately and working with us, but if not, beyond that, like what could somebody do in their life right now to get started?
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned where we are right now, I think people thought it was going to be like a 6 to 8 week thing, and then we were all going to be back to normal. And now then that turned into months and months and months, right? So when we're stressed, it's very hard to learn. It's very hard to absorb. It's very hard to even think in that way. So I think it's really important that you go right to this present moment. When you're right here in this very moment and you're just looking around at what you're experiencing, like right in this moment, everything is okay. Like right in this moment, everything is okay. And this could be the greatest time in your life to learn something new, to start something new, to really unleash into something that you've always meant to do, but you didn't quite know how to get started. Like this could be the perfect time. Just the other day I was sharing this on a live that my favorite book in junior high, I came across The Count of Monte Cristo. It's actually mentioned in the Wall Street this weekend, and I thought, it's on my brain. So the reason I loved that book was not the revenge stuff, which is what most people talk about with that book. What I loved about that book was that this man was in prison for years, and he got to study with this incredibly brilliant man who he was incarcerated with. He got to learn from one of the greatest minds in Europe. So he learned languages and math and science, and they had no paper or anything. Like, they're learning, one person to another person learning. You can learn anything you want today at the push of a couple buttons.
Yeah.
So create an action plan for what it is you really want to learn in this time frame. It can be anything. And begin with the end in mind. Like, okay, 2 years from now, once I've mastered Swedish, I'm going to Sweden. Like, what is the end in mind? What is the dream? What is the goal? What is your aim? When you can build some passion around that aim, then you can come back and unblock those stories, like we've been talking about during this show. Unblock some of those, acknowledge them, and say, wow, the reason I thought I could never learn this language was because I could hardly learn English in school, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Block that little thing and put together a tiny action plan. Maybe it's just 10 minutes a day on Duolingo. Maybe it's just you have a neighbor who speaks Swedish, you know, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
What is it? What is the little tiny step that you can take? Join us each week. Each week, we're going to bring you something to unlock your brilliance.
Yeah.
You know, what is that going to be? How are you going to start to unlock? Put a little action plan together. It doesn't have to be big, but I encourage my clients to, like, write it on a sticky note and put it on your bathroom mirror.
Yeah.
Put it right in front of you so that you keep it going. And one thing about creativity, you know, some people are some of the pro writers are so disciplined, they get up and write for 2 hours before they even eat. You know, they have their little patterns. You may easily find a little pattern, but don't get discouraged if you don't. What I found with the novel thing, is that I can't just sit down and write. I'll be driving and the characters enter my head. And then I have to, like, pull over and write on my phone and send it to myself, right?
Yeah.
Or write on a scrap of paper, you know, Bobby said this to Douglas, you know, whatever it is. It's really crazy.
I can't wait to meet this Bobby.
I mean, here's this, like, this the scene that came in like 2 weeks ago. You know, when you go to the doctor's office and you sit on the crinkly paper, that was the scene. That's the scene that was like, I didn't put that in the novel. It's kind of understood that somebody had to go to the doctor, but it was like, no, you've got to talk about how he stood up and the crinkly paper stuck to his ass, you know, like, I got to put it all in there, like what it felt like and how he felt in the room.
Yeah.
You know? So I think the greatest advice I ever got from one of my mentors is stay open. And Lila teaches us how to get our body open so that these juices start flowing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to add on here. You know, so Elle talks about being present. And I love you said looking around, right? We want to bring our consciousness into our body. How to do it? Breathe. If you're not with your breath, you're not present.
Yeah. Yep.
So let the breath flow in, flow out, all of that. So that would be what I would say for creativity to flow. If you're not sure, like you're stuck, creativity, anything, or if you have a creative idea and you want to bring it forward, start breathing. Being with your breath is the first thing to bring, like, a new level of awareness and consciousness. And then the second thing I felt that you brought forward that I would totally agree with is vision, right? And how do you vision? The piece is you need to feel the vision. She said 2 years out, it might be 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, 6 months, whatever it is that you want to bring forward, and how, you know, the time frame. Sit, breathe, feel what it's like to already have the book done, to already have learned the language, to already have created your new modality, right? Whatever it is, sit for a while, really feel it, and then write it down. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Because even if it doesn't happen in that moment, it will happen. You'd be surprised. Because what you're doing here is you're bringing the energy, breath, right, to the feeling state, emotion, as well.
Mm-hmm.
The mind starts to understand the vision easier. And then you're bringing into physical form through writing it. And so you're just, you're like sealing the deal to make your creativity happen. Even if it's not happening like right now, but from an energetic level, you're putting in all the pieces and parts. You're breathing, you're visioning the future. You're bringing the future back into the present moment as you feel it in your body. And then you write it down as if it's so, and you have full belief. Because what I know about Elle is when she's in full belief, when I'm in full belief, when we talk about full belief, right? Everything happens. And you can choose to create whatever you want in the world.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that will start to come through you if you breathe, if you get present, right? If you write it down at any moment, pull over your car if you need to, right? Allow yourself to feel it. And Elle and I are here to help you, if you struggle with that, if there's blocks, if there's things in the way, if you're unclear what you want and how to get it, you can't do these exercises on your own, and get the results you want, we're here for you.
And the thing about Lila and I too is that we've done our homework. We have spent decades learning and disseminating information, distilling information. And when you do that writing, when you're visualizing, if you have trouble seeing, by the way, not everyone can see the picture in their head. It's okay. Yeah. You have other senses. So one of my coaches, Robert Allen, has us virtualize our goals and dreams. So put all your senses in, like, what are you tasting? If you're going to go to Sweden, like, what are you tasting? What do you smell? Do you smell the evergreen trees? Do you smell the ocean? Like, what are you tasting, smelling? What are you hearing? Are you on the ocean? Do you hear all those clangs of the boats, the sailboats? What do you hear? So you put all your senses into this writing so that it's so real for you. So it's okay if you're not a real mind picture person. Not everybody has that.
Even a feeler. Like I was saying, feel it.
Right. Yeah.
I said, because I'm extremely kinesthetic, right? Yeah. So I can just feel stuff, and I have like clear cognizance. I always say, I'm like, I just know stuff. I don't know why. I just know. I'm like, it's gonna happen, and it does, right? And so I've had enough years of evidence too, so I can trust it. But not everybody's a feeler. Some people hear, right? Some people see visually. I love that you brought this forward. I had a call with a mentor this week, and she said, or recently, it was last week. She said, I was doing some visioning work. I could see it, I could feel it, I could smell it, I could hear it. And then she asked me, what is your role? Describe your role. What is that like? I was like, oh, interesting. It was just a perspective I hadn't taken before. Like I can vision stuff, I can feel stuff, I can see the future in a way of a knowingness. I don't know. I have some visual, but I'm more of a feeler and a knowing. Like there's just like I can feel the wind on my skin, in the future. And that's pretty cool. I can feel the water kind of spray on my face if there's some ocean or something in the future. But when she said, what is your role? What happened is it made me feel more in control of the creation, actually. Wow. It wasn't like, oh, there's this thing that's there out there. It's like, oh, I've created this. And that was kind of cool from a feeling state.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah. So let me know, what do you have? So if somebody, say, is not feeling happy right now, for example, and there's a feeling of maybe I'm not creatively expressing myself, I'm not bringing forward what I'm meant to in the world, right? I have, I'm working with people privately right now, doing embodiment work, really helping them feel that future now, right? So they can receive it, the value of what they put forward in the world, really, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm really, really wanting to do these really private embodiment workshops with one person or individuals, these VIP days, periods of time, depending on what people need. Can you share with me what do you have going on right now, right, that can help people, really be able to bring forward their creativity?
Yeah. I start everybody out on the basic pressure-free living course. With that course, you learn how to stop releasing the fight or flight stress hormones. And when you can start to do that, your body and your mind are going to be healthier. So you start with a stronger foundation in order to do any sort of creative work. Create in general, create a family, like any of those endeavors. Stress hormones are the enemy. They really mess up your body and your mind. So if you have something chronic, a mental chronic thing going on, chronic meaning through time, it's not going away, or a physical ailment through time, stress hormones play a role in that. We've got to stop releasing them. And you've been doing that work with me for a long time now. And it's incredible. It's just incredible how things start to shift for you. So
yeah, I mean, before working with Elle, I found I like to, this is what the story I tell, but I found myself crying on the kitchen floor a lot because I would start creating and it would just be overwhelming, and so much would come at me and I'd be like, and I just like lose it. The stress hormones would just take me down, right? I just would get frustrated or overwhelmed or whatever. And learning how to get present in my body, and then learning how to, what's neat about what Elle teaches is that, how do I want to put this? It's like quick response at the command center. Like there's the command center inside of whether you're on point or not, whether you're like in the flow or not.
yeah,
whether things are going right or they're not. And so there's a way of, living, just the day-to-day living, the embodiment, the breathing, all of that. And part of that day-to-day life is triggers, right? And what Elle teaches is how to make sure that you aren't affected by all those triggers. And the command center is like constantly on point. That's how I think about it for myself.
perfect.
Because if I trigger, and that's the other piece, is then you'll know when you trigger, and you'll know if you're on or off. And if you're not on, don't make any important decisions or have any conversations that are important other than, can I have some food and water or something? Like,
oh, right.
yeah. And so I want to say, like, from a creative standpoint, I have exploded my creativity. I use that word, exploded my creativity, because it was all in me.
Yes.
Right. And I had support and coaching. I was moving forward. But once I get rid of that,
yes,
then, I've created tons of courses, tons of programs, had tons of clients, tons of videos. I do tons. I could just go on and on. I could go on and on about my house, my garden. I've moved. I've created tons of relationships that I didn't have before. Just on and on and on. It's just like a never ending thing. I can just do whatever I want and create, and I'm creating more, and I'm barely just started, baby,
Yeah. And there's talk about anxiety more than ever today. So many people are suffering from anxiety. And I'm here to say, like, the old mental health model doesn't work. It wasn't designed to help people with the kinds of anxieties that we have today. Even the qualifications, these symptoms mean you're bipolar, these symptoms mean you have this. It's all
highly sensitive.
It's based on an antiquated system. And so the pressure-free method is totally different. It's working with you in the moment. Because if you stop the release of those hormones, 50% of your anxiety is going to be gone now. Just gone.
Yeah, I heard on a YouTube video I was listening to, and the gal, brilliant woman, but she said, I heard her go, I'm just naturally high strung.
Right.
And I thought, oh, she needs the pressure-free method.
She needs a pressure-free method.
Because she's created a global, I won't say who it is, but she's created a global, very successful company. She's known around the world by many, many countries who speak many different languages. And she said this, and she's a mom. She does all this cool stuff. And she's super real. She's just super real. She's like, this is just who I am. This is what I got going on. And I thought to myself, if she feels like she has done a lot so far, imagine what she could do if she was not feeling like, just, kind of spacey or stressed out, or right, that feeling of just in the head all the time. Like, that's kind of the story, right? I'm just kind of naturally like this.
Right.
Like, what if she wasn't, I thought, what if she wasn't like that, and she was really just in her body and present and not triggered with stress hormones and just easeful, whatever.
Yeah.
She's already created a global empire with what she's done. What else could she do?
Right.
Like, she wouldn't have to work hardly. Everything would just come to her at that point, She'd barely have to do anything. She'd just be like, okay. Correct. And here's what I know, she'd have higher end people too, probably.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing is that we don't want to admit, this is really important, especially if you live with people and you have people around you, you're suffering when you trigger stress hormones, but they're really suffering. They're suffering from your bitchiness. They're suffering from your bossiness. They're suffering because you may not even know it, but you're bullying them. You are. And it's
you don't even know it because you're off.
It's a hard pill to swallow. But when you come to the realization that that stress is the culprit, that when you understand what these stress hormones are really doing to your brain and body, and you just decide enough is enough, there's a whole other life on the other side, and you just proved it. Like, I never could have believed it either, but my life is totally different because of this. Totally different. Thank God. I never want to go back to the old me, ever. And when I do trigger, I really protect myself and everybody around me.
Yeah. So whatever you want to create, you can do it. If you want to create better relationships, better intimacy, better expression of your business, you want more visible video marketing, it doesn't matter what you want to do. You need us if you're not making it happen, because there's something, you need this kind of stuff. You need to have your own body mind system, right? You need to not know how to not let the triggers rock you. You need to know how to be in the present moment, to really, really, really listen, right? Like, to the characters. And that's the foundation. I think you kind of brought that in. There's like this, this foundation that's in, I don't know if that's the word you use. I can't remember.
It is. We need to be on a firm foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we do, is we help you. And that's why we're here. It's like, this is an opportunity, like Elle said, of like no other. Like, some people, are scared and stuff and get it. I get it. Like, it makes sense. It doesn't feel good. And that's getting in the way of your creative expression in the world. And so we're here to say, hey, if you want it, this is the time.
This is the time.
Not everybody's going to step up and be creative right now. They're going to stay small and hunker down, and that's okay. But for those of you who are ready to step up and like Elle and I were like, oh gosh, there's a whole global thing going on. We're going to start a new show. We're going to get our own, media spot, shows are closing. Cool. We're going to get our own show. We're going to start a show. We're going to do this. We're going to create that. She's writing another book, you guys. Like, I'm creating a modality. Like, we're just doing all of this stuff because we know, we see, we feel, we hear, we taste what's possible, right? Because there's no pressure, there's no stress, there's no thoughts get in the way. And let's just say we're not always perfect. Like, sometimes things get in the way, but that's why we have each other and mentors.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe, both of us really believe that you deserve to have a very fulfilling life. That life might be that you're creating a really beautiful home and gardens and, whatever that is. Like, you get to determine what that is. And what's so cool is when you can really put your foot down and say, I'm going to have a charmed life. I'm going to have a fulfilling life. I'm going to have a beautiful life with whatever humans you share it with, whatever community you live in. Like, you get to do that. You get to do that, especially when you learn what we have to share. And it really is a beautiful thing. And we want to help you unlock your brilliance. That's the purpose of this show. We're going to come here once a week for you. And who knows what it will morph into. Think of this as kind of our pilot phase. You know?
This is our pilot season, friends.
Our pilot phase, right?
Pilot season. So get in with us before we get really big. I don't even know what that means. Get in with us. I don't know what that means. All right, we love you. We're bringing your brilliance to life. Thank you for joining us for this beautiful conversation. Thank you, Elle. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you in the morning.
Bye.